said it. Mike, I first want to thank you for doing this event. Alzheimer's is one of those diseases that we definitely need awareness made, especially within the communities. I was introduced to Alzheimer's around the year 2007. At the time, I was living here in Des Moines. I've been living here for about 10 years with my wife and my 3 daughters. I'm from the south suburbs of Chicago, and my family at the time of the story lived in the south suburbs of Chicago, along with my brothers, my sister, and that's where all my family is. My cousins, my aunties, my uncles. We got a pretty big family, and we have a good time. When I found out about Alzheimer's, again, it was in 2007, and I was on my way home to visit my family in the south suburbs of Chicago. Before I went home, my brother called me, and he says, "Phil, I hear you about to go home." He says, "Before you go, I just want to talk to you about something really quickly." He says, "Something's wrong with Mom." And I asked him to kind of elaborate on it. He says, "Man, I can't put my finger on it." He says, "But something is wrong with Mom." He said, "Make sure when you go home, you just show Mom all the love in the world. Just show her all the love." And of course, I do all the time, or I like to think that I do. Going home, I'm going to kick it with family. We party, so I'm excited about going home, taking my family home. My cousins always come out. We always kick it. I get home, and again, we're partying, chess game going on. Pops break out the finest liquor, as he would say. We doing our thing. We having a good time. We got these floating around. Everything's cool. And my mom stops and says, "Somebody's at the door." I ain't think nothing of it. I go to the door, and although I didn't hear a knock on the doorbell, I go to the door and answer the door. Nobody's at the door. I said, "Mom, ain't nobody at the door." Commenced back to partying, getting our groove on. About 20 minutes later, my mom gets up and she's headed outside of the area we were in. I'm like, "Mom, where you going?" And she says, "I'm going to get the door." And I stop and pause. And I say, "Come on, I'll go with you." So we go, and again, nobody's at the door. 20 minutes later, she again says, "Would somebody go get that door?" That's when I knew that my life at that point in time had changed. Over the next few years, come on in, bro. Over the next few years, I recognized that my mom was no longer whole. I recognized that she was broken. The times that I went back and forth home, not only was she answering the door, but she also now was answering the phone with nobody there. She also was having these elaborate stories that didn't make much sense. Our family dog, or my parents' family dog, name was Bonnie. And one of her favorite things that she said, well, not favorite things, but things that she said and locked in, was those kids next door is picking on Bonnie, which there was no kids next door. It's these type of things that I've noticed over the years that progressively got worse. Now, many people think, Alzheimer's is a slow progressing disease. But for me, it wasn't slow progressing because I did not live home. Mm-hmm. So every time I went home, it was a bomb bombshell. So, next particular time that I went home, Mom had declined, and this is over a few years, Mom had declined pretty bad. And I remember she came up to me and she says, "I'm so proud of you and Shannon and the three girls, and your three girls." And I said, "Oh, Mom, that's nice. That's beautiful. That I made my heart jump, because I seen this positive image come from her that I hadn't seen in a while." And 20 minutes later, she says, and it seemed like it wasn't a forced smile, but it wasn't her typical smile. And she says, "I'm proud of you and Shannon and the girls." And again, I said, "Oh, Mom, thank you. That means so much." And this went on the whole trip. "I'm so proud of you and Shannon and the girls." And it continued to go on and on and on and over and over. Again, the whole trip. Excuse my language, messed my head up. I'm totally messed up because I truly wanted it to stop. I wanted "I'm so proud of you and Shannon and the girls." It was really like a horror movie, just over and over and over, and I truly, truly wanted it to stop. Went home. Head's messed up. I go home and I call my uncle. Now my mom is my go-to person and I no longer had my go-to. So I had to go to my uncle. My uncle, Uncle Dar, he's the youngest sibling of my father. I'm the oldest. My cousin Darcel, he's the oldest, and he was like our big brother. And I called my uncle and said, "Uncle Dar, I can't do that no more. I can't go home and I can't see my mother like that no more." He said, that's a wrap. I'm done. He said, nephew. He says, "You're not going home for you. You're not going home to visit your mom for you." He says, "You're the oldest." He says, "You're going home to visit your mom for your brothers, your sister, for your girls, for your nieces, for your nephew." I said, "Uncle, I can't do it." He says, "No," he says, "Nephew, you're not going home to visit your mom for you. You're going home to visit your mom for your dad, who's been in the room taking care of your mom for the last 4 years." I said, "No." I said, I can't do it. I'm having troubles." He said, "Nephew, you're not going home to visit your mom for you. You're going home to visit your mom for your mom." I was a little upset because he didn't hear nothing I said.
Ain't no way around it.
You know what I'm saying? He didn't hear nothing I said. I wanted him to side with me and say, "Yeah, I understand, nephew." But he didn't say that, which my uncle ain't gonna say that. So the next time I muster myself up to go back home, I go home, I run in the house, anxious to see my mom, and I go upstairs and I, "Hey, Ma, hey, Ma." And my mom's like this. And I quickly realized that the last encounter that we had was my mom telling me how proud she was of me, Shannon, and the 3 girls. It quickly dawned on me that my mom knew that her time was limited. She knew she didn't have much time to talk to me. So she wanted to make sure that I understood. And the last words she was able to muster up, "I'm proud of you and Shannon and the 3 girls," the words that I wanted to stop, the words that played in my head like a horror story. She was making sure that I understood that she was proud of me, my wife, and my 3 girls. I felt like the biggest asshole. Here I was annoyed. I thought this was a disease talking and repeating over and over and over and again. And it was my mom, courage, mustering up all she could to get out because she knew that this was probably the last time she was to be able to talk to me. She wanted me to know. And I got tired of hearing it. Trip back home, boo-hooing. My mom has no clue who I am. She had no clue. I somehow needed to take another trip up. I made a promise to my aunt that I was going to keep going up, keep visiting. So I made the next trip up. Knew that I couldn't go by myself. For whatever reason, my wife, my girls, they couldn't come up. But I knew that I couldn't drive on the road because I knew we was getting too close to that time. I was an emotional wreck. A good friend of mine, Seneca, told her, "Hey man, I gotta make it home. I don't know how I'm gonna do it. But I need to go home to see my mom." And she knew what was going on. She said, "Okay, I'll take it." So we get in the car and she takes me home. Seneca stays probably 3-4 days. I can't remember how many days we stayed up there, but she takes me to go see my mom, and she drops me off. She meets my parents, she meets my dad and my brothers, and once she leaves the house, I go upstairs and I'm, "Hey Mom!" And my mom is now gritting her teeth and looking at me, and you can see she is scared. I don't know, and I hope and pray nobody ever have to experience this. For when you come into contact with your mom's presence, she's scared of you. That's the worst feeling in the world. My mom was scared of me. Not only did she not know who her oldest child was, not only did she not know that I was even in the room, but she was scared of me. That is a feeling that never leaves you. It will always remain with me my whole life. That look on my mom's face when I came in and she was terrified. My mom passed away in 2015. And as crazy as this may sound, I was relieved. I never thought I would say that about any loved one, but I was relieved when she passed away. This is the first time I really ever talked about this issue. I really needed to talk about this issue because
All right.
wearing this for a long time.
Yeah.
When Vet told me that she was having this event, Micah, I said, I'm in. I said, I gotta get this off my chest.
Thank you.
And I definitely appreciate you guys taking the time and hearing me. But before I go, I want to dedicate this piece to a couple people. I want to dedicate this piece to my two brothers who's no longer here, who experienced this. And that is my brother Kaiser and my brother Anthony. But I also want to dedicate this piece to my mother, who was my go-to. She was my superhero. Not only was she my superhero, but she was a community superhero. She took and put people on her back and carried her throughout the community and delivered them to safety. She was a social worker queen. If there was somebody who was in need or somebody who was broken, she was the fixer. That was my mom, Marion B. Lowe.